What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 30th episode of BYG Bible Studies. My name is Dylan Armstrong, and I just want to say it has been a privilege and an honor to bring these 30 episodes to you guys so far. Started this podcast because I wanted to be able to get messages from the Bible out to the people of our youth group and just people in the world, because I know that we were not able to gather together. So I'm just happy that, through that, I've been able to create this podcast, and I have a lot of plans and ideas to take it into the future. But what we're doing today is just continuing in the story of the Bible. And we've gotten to the part of the Bible where Jesus comes on the scene. Some might say it's the most exciting part of the Bible because God came down to earth. So it's really, really awesome. And what we have been focusing on, we started this last week, we have been talking about the teachings of Jesus. We spent some time on him as a healer, but what we're looking at now is Jesus and what he taught. What did he talk about, And before we get into that today, I want to ask you guys a question. What would it take? What would it take for you to give up interactive technology for 1 month? I'm talking a month without phones, computers, gaming consoles. For a month, the only way you see and talk to people is with your eyes, ears, and mouth. What would it take for you to give that up for a month? Would you be able to even do it, do you think? I mean, that seems tough to me, but part of me is like, I want someone to challenge me to do that because it seems like it would be really nice. I don't know. I feel like I would be a happier person. What would it take for you to give up speaking for 1 week? A week of silence. I don't know. That's a tough one. What would it take for you to stay in one room for 1 month? Man, I think we all have little flashbacks to the pandemic right here. It felt like being stuck in our home was rough enough. I don't know. What would it take for you to be in one room maybe for a year? That'd be a lot. You see, in order for someone to make a commitment, they need to know the cost and the benefit, right? And if you were going to make a commitment to being without interactive technology for a month, you got to be like, well, I need to make sure the benefit of what I'm getting is worth me going without. You have to decide if the benefit is worth the cost. I love in college, my friends, we used to chat about this question, this scenario where you receive $10 million. Congratulations. But for the rest of your life, there's going to be this super snail. All right, and this snail, it's invincible. And it kills you by touching you. And it follows you, trying to kill you. And it can even board planes as well. All right, that's going to happen for the rest of your life. This super snail is coming after you. But you get $10 million. Would you do it? It's like, on one hand, I get $10 million. I'm going to be debt-free. I'm going to be living a pretty good life. But is that worth me living on the run for the rest of my life? From this super snail that just... it can get on planes, it's going to be coming after me. Like, I guess it doesn't sleep, so when I sleep, it's like getting closer to me, and then for the rest of my life, I'm just going to be afraid of snails, and that's going to be a weird phobia. I don't even know what that's called, but I need someone to let me know what is the fear of snails. I need to know what is that phobia called. And I know this is a silly example, but it's a silly example of how in life, we constantly have to make decisions by counting the cost. Like, everything that I do, I have to expend time and energy. I might have to expend money as well. And so, I have to decide what's worth my time. What's worth my energy? What's worth my emotional energy? Is this being around this person sometimes? Is it worth the emotional strain? Sometimes it's like, no, I need distance from you, okay? And you got to make that call sometimes. But you see, this is true in every decision of life. And it's also true when it comes to following Jesus. And Jesus taught this. This is one of the things that he taught, is that being one of his disciples requires a clear, total, and costly commitment. I mean, there was this one time when Jesus was teaching to people, and these people were coming up to him saying that they wanted to follow him. But rather than Jesus being some Instagram influencer who just wanted as many followers as possible, he instead made sure that those who followed him knew what they were getting into, and that they were actually committed, and that they knew the cost of following him. I mean, one guy, Jesus explains, hey, you want to follow me? You know that I have no place to lay my head. I have no place to sleep at night. I'm a nomad. I'm constantly moving. I don't have a secure home. And if you follow me, the same's going to be with you. And you're going to have to give up that comfort. Whew. Like, that's like, it's like, Jesus, do you want people to follow you? Like, you doing this? But he wanted to make sure they were committed. To others, he would tell them that they are going to have to miss out on important life events of their families and their communities because of their responsibility to Christ. One guy tells Jesus that he would follow him, but at first he's got to bury his father. And that sounds weird, but it was likely a euphemism, okay, saying that after his father passes away. It wasn't like that this guy was listening to a sermon by Jesus in the middle of his dad's funeral, and he was like, that sounds good. Let me finish this first, then I'll get over there. It was like, no, this guy was saying, when after my father's died, I'm done with him and that responsibility, then I'll give you my attention and you'll become my responsibility, Jesus. And Jesus is like, nah, that's not going to work that way. All right, I have to become your main responsibility. And a lot of these people that Jesus challenged about following him, they ended up not following him, of course, because they could not give up their comfort, their wealth, their family. I mean, following Jesus, he was teaching, means putting Jesus above everything else. And he was trying to make sure that these people knew that following him was just not a casual commitment. It wasn't like a little side hustle that you do on the weekends, all right? It wasn't one of your hobbies. It's a life-altering commitment. That's what Jesus was teaching. That's what Jesus was expecting of his followers. And Jesus cared a lot about this. He taught a lot about this. And one time he even went to an extreme when teaching about this, where he was trying to emphasize this truth. And he says that if anyone does not hate their father, their mother, their spouse, their children, their brother and their sisters, even their own life, then you cannot be a follower of Jesus. Now, obviously, Jesus wasn't saying, actually hate these people. Like, well, I know that we don't need any extra motivation to get angry at our families, right? But Jesus was emphasizing that once you become one of his followers, that means that your allegiance is to him, and that is above any other relationship that you have. That your commitment to Christ, other relationships, when they compare to it, look like you might hate them. All right? Because you're so committed to Jesus. Jesus was teaching that that's what it means to be one of his followers. So obviously this was important to Jesus. And it's something that we have to make sure we understand as we decide to follow Jesus. Like, even when you just make the first commitment to give your life to Christ, you have to think about this. But also every day I wake up, I have to think about what I'm going to live my life for today. Am I going to live it for my wife? Am I going to live it for my friends and family, my job? Or am I going to stay true to my commitment to Jesus, that I'm going to live this day, live my life for him? We have to ask ourselves, is following Jesus worth me putting him above everything else? Right, we got to count the cost. Is following Jesus worth putting him above my friends and my family? Above my own success? Above my own popularity? My comfort? My money? Is it worth it? Because those things have to take a backseat to Jesus. I'm going to lose some of these things from following Jesus. That is what you lose. But remember, in any big decision, you have to think, but what am I going to gain? And is what I gain worth losing these things? And so what do you gain in this situation? Because I'm losing popularity, success, people. I'm losing wealth and comforts. I'm losing these things, but what am I gaining when it comes to following Jesus and making him the most important thing in my life? Well, in this situation, you gain a relationship with the God who created you. You get forgiveness for the wrongs that you've done in life. You gain understanding of what works best in this world. You gain acceptance of God that is greater than any acceptance of man. You gain peace of mind that only comes through him. You get to let go of worries. You gain hope for the future. You gain true purpose in life. You have a promise that tomorrow is going to be okay because it's in God's hands. You gain true love you gain so much more than what you lose when it comes to deciding to follow Jesus. And I know that might be hard for you to understand right now because we live in this world that tells us that's not true. But then I ask you the question, then why are so many people walking around depressed? We're constantly told to hustle and chase after money, chase after guys and women, whatever it is. And we're told to chase after all these things, but yet everybody's depressed and anxious. And they need to be free from something because something ain't right with us. Something's not right with this world. So obviously, this might not make sense at first, but just from knowing that these things aren't working for us like we think they are, that should at least spark your interest in saying maybe following Jesus is worth it. Because I don't even have time to get into everything that you gain, but what I want you to understand is that, what I believe and others have accepted is that it is worth giving up everything. It's worth, and when you realize that you're not actually giving up everything for Jesus, you're actually just giving up these small things that actually end up hurting me in the long run. I'm giving up these things to receive so much more. Yes, there is a cost to following Jesus. But what you got to understand is, and the reason why people make the decision is because we realize that what we receive is worth losing those things. Putting Jesus as the priority is worth it. And if you decide to follow Christ, it's going to be difficult at first. I'm not going to pretend like it's just sunshinies and rainbows, that every day isn't a little bit of a struggle to make Jesus the priority. I don't do it perfectly. No one does. And it's a little difficult. But as time goes on, you begin to realize that what I'm losing is actually nothing compared to what I've gained. Nothing compared to what I've gained. And we have to remind ourselves of this fact every day. Every day. Because the lies we believe that these other things are more important, it might feel good in the moment, but it's just not worth it in the long run. And when we find the truth that we gain so much more from following Christ, and if we actually put that into practice, we will find so much more of a rich, purposeful life, a hope that cannot be taken, promises for a future. It's so worth it, and I could go on and on about it, but I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from today, and I hope you guys understand this teaching of Jesus, that he expected total commitment from his followers, that following him is a life thing. It's not a hobby. It's not a side hustle. It's not just doing something 1 hour a week. This has been BYG Bible Studies, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope this has blessed your lives, and I hope that you guys follow Jesus like never before because of it. Remember that God loves you. I love you, and there's nothing you can do that will change that. Have a great day.